Hello and welcome to another episode of The Average EV. It is starting to get cold and there's something that you have to know about your EV so that you know what to expect in the wintertime. Let's get into it. All right, I'm not gonna leave you all hanging for long. In the wintertime, your battery gets cold and you actually have less usable capacity when your battery is cold. So that's why it's really important to precondition your battery. So I'm gonna go over a couple things here just so you all know what to expect in the wintertime. So first off, why do you have less usable capacity in the wintertime? Well, the electrolyte in the battery and a lot of other chemistry stuff, it gets colder, it gets viscous, and it makes it harder basically for energy to transfer. Therefore, maybe you have a 85 kilowatt hour battery pack like I do, and you might only have 82 kilowatt hours usable. And this is true of any electric vehicle. When solid state starts to come into existence, that might change things. But right now, when you have that the liquid electrolyte, it is going to become more viscous and you're going to get less usable energy. But honestly, it's not always the biggest deal. So I'm going to kind of show you a little experiment I've been doing to show you if you precondition your battery, if you DC fast charge your battery, you actually unlock more battery capacity. All right, everybody, so I plugged in. This is going to warm up the battery and see I'm getting full charge. I did precondition, that's why it's important to precondition your battery so you get max speeds, and I'm getting 155. Holy cow! Might be pooled for heating or something like that, but we're getting 500 amps, 310 volts, and so far we've got 2.2 kilowatt hours dispensed. Love to see it. All right, so it's super cold outside, everybody, so I came in to talk a little bit more about this. So just a little bit of history. I'm going to talk from the Equinox EV perspective because that's what I have, but if you're watching this and you have another EV, this is going to be true of pretty much every EV on the market right now that uses an NMC or similar chemistry. For LFP, it might be a little bit different, but at least for me, I'm talking from the NMC chemistry, which is the majority of cars on the market right now in the United States. So anyways, when I bought my car, it was advertised as 85 kilowatt hours. So that's what I would expect to have all the time, right? Well, that's not always true. But what was cool with GM vehicles, and I don't exactly know why they did this, but you actually got a 90 kilowatt hour battery pack. And I tested this at the beginning of the life of the vehicle multiple times, and I did confirm I had 90 usable kilowatt hours of energy, which means I could go a little bit further than the advertised of 85 kilowatt hours, which is super cool. Now, why did they do that? I suspect they did it so that when the battery starts to degrade a little bit, for the majority of the life of the vehicle, you're going to have about or close to 85 kilowatt hours, which is very nice of GM. Most manufacturers, they're like, this is what it is, and that's where it's going to be, and that's exactly what it is. But GM, they were really kind, and they did this for us. So anyways, I know that my battery capacity at the beginning of the life, and it was warmer, was about 90 kilowatt hours. Over time, I've noticed some degradation. I haven't done a degradation test, I will. But right now I'm at about 87 kilowatt hours-ish. So that's the max energy that I have available to use with my car, and I'm super cool with that. It gets me anywhere I need to go. But during winter time, that's gonna reduce how much usable capacity you have. I explained earlier, with things getting cold, the electrolyte gets more viscous, makes it harder to transfer energy. So when I got into my car this morning, I put in my OBD dongle, which you don't need, but it's nice to have. I saw that I had 82.3 kilowatt hours of usable energy. Yikes! That is not what I paid for, is it? But it was colder, and that's just the reality. But what's really nice about electric cars, especially more recent electric cars, is you can precondition your battery. And it's essential that you do that so that you can get the full or as full capacity to use when you're driving on a trip, or honestly just your daily driving needs. So I set a destination, which happens to be this Pilot Flying J location in Elkton, Maryland. And it did the en-route battery preconditioning for me. I actually tracked it. It did a really nice job. I arrived right at a temperature that I would want to, so that I get the best charging possible. And what I also noticed was my capacity grew as the battery warmed up. So the battery warms up, the electrolyte becomes more into the state it should be, and then bada bing, bada boom, I went from having 82.3 usable kilowatt hours to 86.3. So it actually added 4 kilowatt hours, okay, which is about 5%. If you're looking at it from that perspective, about 5% of the battery back to it to be used, which is great. And that's why it's really important that you got to warm that battery up, especially when it's cold outside. Now, if it was colder, and maybe I'll do this later in the season, would I have less battery capacity? Maybe. I'm not sure what the floor is. I do know that it appeared as though my battery was actually trying to stay above freezing. So maybe the floor right now for me is about 82 kilowatt hours, but maybe it will go lower. So now I just wanted to give a few of my general observations over my EV ownership experience just to share with you all. So obviously when my battery's cold, I have less energy usable, and I've noticed, obviously decreased efficiency and also reduction in range. I think that hopefully if you bought an EV, you did some research. If not, I do want people to know that in the winter, you are going to have reduced range, and the colder it gets, the less range you're going to have. Because of literally less usable capacity from the battery, also because of efficiency issues. The colder it is, the more dense the air, therefore there's more, resistance while you're driving. You're going to have reduced range, among other things, heating, stuff like that to keep you warm. Okay. That is a reality. I hope you all know that. If not, here it is. And hopefully you all can know now if you're looking at buying an EV, or know in the future when you go to buy an EV, buy one that is going to have a little bit better wintertime performance. Anyways, on road trips, I've also noticed when it's really cold, the first leg is always the worst because the battery's cold, the battery's got to warm up. But once I'm on a road trip, and I'm doing, a charge every hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, my charging performance tends to hold up pretty well because the battery's already warm. It'll stay warm, and obviously my battery's going to precondition it to warm it up again, and it doesn't take as much energy now because the battery's already warm. So if you are going on a long road trip and it's going to be in the cold, it is going to take a little bit longer, but do realize once you get going, at least in my observation, the trip tends to get a little faster, if you will, because the battery is already warmed up. So that's that. Now what we're going to do, we're going to take a look at the temperature from when I started and from when I ended the charge, or at least this stage of the charge, because I've been monitoring it and it looks like it's about where it's going to be, and see how much energy I actually added by preconditioning and keeping my battery warm. All right, so I just took a screenshot of right now, and I'm at 86.34 kilowatt hours of usable energy. When I started my day today, I was at 82.3 about kilowatt hours. So I did in fact add or open up 4 kilowatt hours after this whole ordeal went down. Now, what does that actually amount to? Well, depending upon conditions and blah, 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 blah. What am I gonna get? Maybe 2.8, let's call it 3, because the math is gonna be a little bit easier. About 3 miles per kilowatt hour, more realistically in the winter, maybe 2.5, but let's call it 3 for math's sake. So 4 more kilowatt hours, 3 mile per kilowatt hour gives me 12 added miles of range. That could be a big deal for some people. And I know that it's obviously always appreciated when you have more range than less range. So yeah. Anyways, that's all I have for today's video, everybody. I hope you found it useful and educational, and hopefully it'll help you in the wintertime. And again, EVs are great in the winter. They're not as great, but usually it's not the end of the world. It's never been an issue for me on road trips or just my daily commuting. There might be some people with scenarios where it might be an issue. Towing might be an issue if you choose to tow, but at least for me, hasn't been that big of a deal. So if you've got any questions, leave them down below. As always, if you haven't already done so, please remember to give a like, a subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I will catch you all next time.